Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing the final four predictions for both the men's and women's. And we're going to start off with the women. So first we have UConn versus South Carolina. Personally, I do like UConn to win this game. UConn comes into this, to me, playing some of the best perfect basketball I think I've probably ever seen. Um, do not think South Carolina, I think the more it's been going on, the more a lot of cracks have kind of opened up for them. And for UConn, going back to UConn, I think the only biggest flaw thing I've seen from them is just their lack of close games. So if South Carolina can keep it a close game, I do think South Carolina can stay in it. But give me UConn to win that game. I do think it's still going to be a close game. I just think UConn has a little bit more firepower to kind of take on South Carolina. Then next we have Texas and UCLA. I like UCLA to beat Texas. I think Texas's lack of 3-point shooting is going to hurt them in this game. They are last in all of D1 basketball when it comes to 3-point shooting. Granted, they do have Booker, who is probably one of the best mid-range, if actually the best mid-range shooter in the country on their team. I just think it is not going to outlast UCLA, which UCLA has outmuscled and outplayed every single team ever since that loss to Texas earlier in the season. I do think this one will also be a close game. I just don't really see Texas outlasting UCLA. I think UCLA comes with a little bit more firepower to kind of beat Texas. Even though, I like Texas, and I wouldn't be mad if Texas won. I think actually all four teams in this Final Four are all teams who really, you just got to give them a pat on the back. Like if there can be like second place trophy or third place trophy, all of them deserve something of it at least. But give me UCLA to beat Texas. I got hope. I actually have UCLA to kind of win it all too. So give me UCLA. I'm hoping for UCLA. Going into the men's, we have Michigan versus Arizona, and which I think could be a very interesting game. I think Arizona is surprisingly going to lose to Michigan. I like Arizona. Arizona has been looking like that unstoppable team. A couple of points I kind of put down is Arizona has the size to match Michigan's front court, and Arizona is able to also get a lot of teams into foul trouble, which Michigan has to stay out of foul trouble if they want to at least make this a game. And finally, like, Michigan has to shoot well from the three. Like, they have to hit their shots. Like, that game, I think a perfect example of a kind of a game where they kept it close but like lost because they just weren't shooting well was against Duke. When they played Duke earlier in the season, Michigan was shooting horrible from the 3-point line. But they still kept that one a close game. And I do think Michigan can win this one too. And Yaxel for Michigan, I think, has to have like the best game of his life against Arizona. And a couple of key points for Arizona too. Arizona has to win in the paint like they've done all season. They're the best team in the country when it comes to playing in the paint and getting points in the paint. And Cole Pete, who's obviously been one of the best players in the country, has to dominate like he's done all the other times and get offensive rebounds. Something Arizona is also number one at in the country too, is getting offensive rebounds at that. If they out rebound and get a lot more second chance points to Michigan, then I think Arizona can, I want to say easily win this game, because I do think Michigan's going to keep this close no matter how good or bad both teams play. And I do think going kind of back to Michigan, if they force Arizona to a lot of bad shots in the paint, Michigan can at least force Arizona to shoot more threes outside of the paint. Because Arizona has not been the best 3-point shooting team. Granted, going into this tournament, they've been able to knock down more kind of, I would say, more game-changing threes. They hit more timely threes than actually consistent shooting good threes. And kind of to go to my pick for that game, I think, is Michigan to go overall, because I really like this Michigan team. I think one of the best Michigan teams in Michigan school history. Um, but my final point for them, and kind of for both teams, for Arizona to win this game, they have to limit transition points and rebound very well, like they've been doing. And for Michigan, they will have to force a lot of shots outside the paint, and they cannot let Kopete dominate or let Arizona overall get points in the paint. And I forgot to give like my kind of overall for the women's too for my final points. For UConn, just play the perfect basketball that they've been playing. Like, don't do nothing out of it. Their biggest strength is adapting and scheming well against opponents. So I think if UConn comes out and play like they've been playing throughout this whole season, they can beat South Carolina. And I think for South Carolina, don't let the game get away from you, kind of like I did in the national championship game when they play UConn. They have to just come and play. If you can keep it close, I think with UConn, the kind of trying to figure out how to beat them, I think you just have to keep it close and then win those gritty moments in the game in like the last 2 minutes. If you can keep it close, then I think you kind of have UConn on their heels, and that's when you kind of get a win past them. For the Texans UCLA game, my points for those are for Texas, they just have to limit Laura Bates. She cannot get or dominate in the paint rather. Kind of throw bodies at her is I would say it's similar to how you would stop Jokic in the NBA. You kind of just throw bodies at her, and you don't want to double her because UCLA is a great 3-point shooting team. So they ability to kick the ball out to get wide open threes is something you also don't want to do. So just have different bodies to throw at her and trust whoever is on her to kind of be able to be physical with her back. And if you're UCLA, kind of do the same thing I literally just said with Michigan. If you can force Texas to take threes and kind of limit Booker, which is, I think, at this point impossible from taking a bunch of mid-ranges. But you really just have to be able to kind of get the ball out of her hands and force them to take bad shots and just make them uncomfortable. These type of things is really hard for the women's because it's a lot of like of all of these 4 teams, they don't really have weaknesses except for Texas of shooting very awful from the 3-point. But other than that, they are able to hide it really good. But going back to the men's, I forgot to say those 5 points for that. So going back to the men's, so we have UConn and Illinois. But going into this UConn versus Illinois matchup, I do think I don't even know who to pick for. I really like. I think give me UConn to beat Illinois. Illinois is, I don't know. Illinois has been playing amazing defense. I think like that Houston game kind of shocked me that they outdid Houston defensively, and that's what kind of shut Houston down. And the fact that they outperformed Houston at everything that Houston tries to do to everybody else, I think was kind of shocking. But Illinois has been playing amazing ever, but so has UConn too. I ain't gonna lie, that game against Duke was kind of great for them to get past that because they now legitimately have a chance at winning it all. And personally, give me UConn. I like UConn to win this game. Terrence Reed Jr. has been a major help for them throughout this whole tournament. The way he showed out against Duke and just been able to be a big body for them, rebounding. Granted, he surprisingly wasn't in the game during that final moment, which I was kind of surprised. I'm like, why is he not in the game? But I think it was probably for offensive purposes or defensive purposes or something like that. But another player I think who does have to step up for UConn is Solo Ball. He has been shaky, I think, over the past month. He's only been averaging 8 points a game, which has been down from when he was averaging 14 points. Kind of during the start of the season coming into this year, but in going into the tournament a little bit in their conference tournament before that, he has not been playing that good. But for me, I think UConn's biggest flaw is they don't create as many free throws for themselves as usually their opponents create more free throws for themselves than what UConn can do for themselves. So I think for UConn to kind of win this game, they can't play how they played against Duke. And that's not, you can't fall behind 25 plus to Illinois because Illinois will run away with the game. So you kind of have to play better defense than every single team Illinois has played up to this point. and you have to be prepared to score because not Illinois, UConn in that first half could not shoot the three well and can barely get points in the paint. And you're playing an Illinois defense who, to me, has played better defense than Duke throughout this tournament. So, in reality, you're going against a better opponent than what you've played even against Duke and up to this point. So, granted, I like UConn to win because UConn is a tough team and they are a team built to win these type of games against tougher teams. But it will definitely be a hard game to win because Illinois has surprised me. Because I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were gonna be out. I thought they were gonna lose to Houston. I'm like, they're gonna go far, but I thought they was gonna lose to Houston. They shocked me when they beat Houston, then beat Iowa like it was nothing. So I'm like, Illinois has kind of been surprising me, and they have kind of been one of the most efficient offenses in this whole tournament. Going against when they played Pennsylvania in the first round, scoring 105 points, 76 against VCU, 65 against Houston, and 71 against Iowa. This has been an amazing offense, and Keaton Wagler has been helping them. Like the amount of shooting I've seen them do against Houston, which kind of surprised me. I'm like, they're hitting majority of their points, and they have been historical, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, historical efficient offense throughout this whole tournament. I do think the biggest flaw for them, even though they are shooting well, the three-pointer very well, when they have to rely on the three-pointer, then that's when it becomes a problem. And because they have, I'm not going to say their offense is live and die by the three, but they can get into that mindset. And when they get into that mindset of living and dying by the three, that's when it kind of hurts them. Majority of their losses that come from them trying to do that. But I think for Illinois to try to stop UConn, they have to stop Terrence Reed Jr. And to be honest with you, he's going to be their biggest problem for them. But if you can limit Illinois' three-point shooting, which every time they've lost, they shot below 36% from the three. And the lowest this season, it was 31%. So if you can limit them to way less threes, then you'll be good. But Illinois has been really efficient. I think it's going to be very hard to do that. So give me then it'll be UConn up against Michigan for me in my championship game. And so I'll take Michigan. I'll take Michigan in that game. I like Michigan against UConn. That'd actually probably be a really good game. I think that'll actually be a better matchup for Michigan, though, than it is UConn. I think Michigan has way more size than UConn and can score way better than UConn. So I do think there's a lot, because I did the calculations and all that and scouting and film watching for the actual games. I actually did not do one for the championships. I might have to do something about that. But going back to the women's, that means my championship game for the women's will be UConn and UCLA. I'll take UCLA beating UConn. I think it's feeling like one of those where it's about time that team has won. I guess feel like one of those moments for the women's. It's feel like, okay, it's about time that team has won. And it could be that for Texas or UCLA. It's one of them to beat each other and then go to beat either South Carolina or UConn and finally be like, okay, it was about that time that they won. And I do think it's almost the same thing for the Final Four in the men's. It's more of a story for each of them. I do think Illinois gets it. It's about time they won. Or not even about time they won. It's more of they've actually got there. Arizona, they have not been to a championship. I think, have they even ever been to one? Cause I think they just went back to the Final Four, I think since 2000 or something. So these are major championships, I think, for each program in the men's, especially. UConn would be like, okay, they're back on the top just after 1 year of not making it to that far in there. So I do think these would be some amazing games. Hope you guys enjoyed those predictions. So for the men's, just to give y'all my final ones. For the men's, I have Michigan winning it all, and for the women's, I have UCLA winning it all. So I will come back actually after both championships are concluded and give a full recap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all next time. Have a very, very blessed day.